all about the economy, taking center stage in today's edition of CNN Student News. From the CNN Center, I'm Carl Azus. First up, a first date of sorts for President Obama and congressional Republicans. The president made his way to Capitol Hill yesterday to try and sell GOP leaders on his $825 billion economic stimulus plan. But they are not buying, at least for now. Republican leaders said they appreciated the meeting, but they don't agree with President Obama on how some parts of the plan are structured. The president acknowledged that Democrats and Republicans have different ideas on how to stimulate the economy, but he said the country's citizens expect a solution.
The American people expect action. They want us to put together a recovery package that puts people back to work, that creates investments that assure our long-term energy independence, an effective health care system, an education system that works. They want our infrastructure rebuilt, and they want it done wisely so that we're not wasting taxpayer money.
All right, the president and Republican leaders all say they're eager to put together a stimulus package. But according to a new report, surprise, surprise, Americans aren't feeling too optimistic about the economy right now. Consumer confidence fell to around 38% this month. That is the lowest point in the history of the statistic. Can a stimulus plan really kickstart the economy? Alan Chernoff explores the possible impact.
Construction company owner Sanjeev Dhawan is hopeful President Obama's stimulus program will get through Congress quickly so he can win new government contracts and rehire workers he's had to lay off.
Hopefully what we're going to do is we're going to make a few phone calls and get some of those people back to work, some of these talented folks that we had working for us before. Unfortunately, right now they're sitting home.
New projects, Dhawan says, would also have him buying concrete, steel, and other material and equipment.
We'll put people to work repairing crumbling roads, bridges, and schools by eliminating the backlog of well-planned, worthy, and needed infrastructure projects.
President Obama also hopes to improve our electricity infrastructure, computerize more medical records, and upgrade hospitals. It will take months to begin putting the money to work, and most of the funding wouldn't be spent until next year and the year after, estimates the Congressional Budget Office. Even so, some economists say, Obama's plan makes sense. And with many private businesses scared to spend, they say big spending to help the economy has to come from the government. But government can do only so much if the nation's banks refuse to start lending again.
If we get the stimulus package and it comes and goes, but the financial system remains broken and the banks are still not lending, then any help that we get from the stimulus will prove short-lived.
Time for the shout-out. What is the nickname for political pet projects that are added to government bills? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it beef, pork, clam, or fowl? You've got 3 seconds. Go! Political pet projects are often referred to as pork. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out.
Congress is pulling some pork out of the economic stimulus plan in an effort to make sure that the bill only funds what lawmakers consider to be high-quality projects. So what's out? Zoos, golf courses, swimming pools? How do you determine what qualifies as high quality, especially in a bill that's this big? Christine Romans examines the fight to trim the fat.
Please, please keep the pork to a minimum. 647 pages on how to spend $825 billion.
They're spending on infrastructure, they're spending on education, they're spending on energy. You know, certainly they're hitting some important basics, but it's very hard to do without the pork.
To some, this smells like bacon, not stimulus. Up to $200 million to spruce up the National Mall. $50 million for the National Endowment for the Arts to replace lost philanthropy money. Democrats already backed away from $200 million in free contraception for low-income families. Republicans want more tax relief and less of what they consider pork.
For every dollar of tax relief to small businesses, we're going to spend $4 on resodding the mall in Washington. That's not the kind of overall national stimulus that we need to the economy.
But seeding the mall takes workers, and Art's jobs are jobs nonetheless. And remember, the bill is supposed to be big and spend lots of money. That's the point. President Obama says all those billions will renovate 10,000 schools, build 3,000 miles of a new electric grid, put $25 more in jobless checks, and weatherize 2.5 million homes. To say nothing of tax cuts, bridge repair, health care, and more aid for college students. But make no mistake, any whiff of pork on this one has already become a big distraction.
I would take those right out of the bill because they're clearly not the most stimulative policies, but they do a whole lot to undermine the credibility of the package.
And credibility is critical to restoring confidence in the economy.
Time for a shout-out extra credit. What is the current federal minimum wage? You know what to do. Is it $5.35, $6.20, $6.55, or $7.10? 3 seconds are back on the clock. Go! The federal minimum wage is currently $6.55 an hour. It's scheduled to jump to $7.25 on July 24th. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out extra credit.
Now, of course, there are some exceptions, like jobs where you earn tips. But increasing numbers of teenagers aren't applying for minimum wage positions because they're not looking for any job at all. Some experts worry that the lack of experience could have a serious impact later on in life. Ines Ferre considers whether it's a cause for concern.
Over the past decade, more and more American teenagers have decided not to look for work. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says that in the last 10 years, the number of 16 to 17-year-olds working or looking for work decreased from 42% to 28%. The number of working teens in that age group decreased by nearly 800,000.
What you have is a number of young people whose parents don't want them to work. They want them building their portfolios to get into some brand name college because parents are extremely anxious for the future success of their kids.
Hera Estroff-Morano, author of Nation of Wimps, says parents are raising kids to be what she calls teacup children, brittle and breakable, too protected or busy to work. Some experts say today's parents have never known the sacrifices shared by generations before them.
They're probably a generation removed from the folks who remember the Depression, remember the war, were raised in an environment of frugality and saving for the future.
Morano's big concern is that if teenagers don't acquire job skills early on, they could be less capable of handling challenges and take fewer risks in life.
I'm worried about them. Who is going to be the future support for our democracy? We need innovators to support the economy.
Both experts agree that parents need to set the example and are concerned that over the years, consumerism and instant gratification have left little room for the value of work. Ines Ferre, CNN, New York.
Most of you who are working or are planning to write in our blog that you would get a haircut for a job interview, but not Timmy. He asks, why would I want to change myself? Employers shouldn't be too picky. As long as the person is skillful and brushed their teeth, should be fine. Sinjin says, there's no way. I can't even see why I would have to do that in the first place. But Devron can. He says, if that's what the boss wants, then do it. If not, then the next man will come and now you have no job. And David says his hair is already kind of conservative, but he would change his style. You have to dress for the type of job you are going to apply for. Smart man. So before we go today, how would you dress for a high-powered negotiation? Apparently, like this guy. Of course, that uniform makes a little more sense when you're facing off against an 8-foot alligator. Trappers spent a couple hours trying to coax this thing out of that sewer drain. They even played music to try and soothe the savage beast. But before he budged, they had to take off. Turns out another gator was spotted in a nearby canal. Man, talk about being swamped. That's going to put a lid on today's show. CNN Student News, I'm Carl Azus.